Hi, I'm Emily. Welcome to episode 28 of Holding the Sticks, a hockey themed fiber arts podcast. Hi, everyone, and welcome to my craft room here in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. My name is Emily, like I said, and you can find me on Plurk, Twitter, and Instagram as Emily3022, and on Ravelry as Shanti Dragon. I have of late been narrowing down my social media outlets, so you won't see me much on Plurk anymore. I am trying to be more present in fewer places instead of completely scattered across all of the different social media outlets. So for right now, I've been most active on Ravelry and Twitter, and I still check in with Instagram because it's just so much fun to see everybody's pictures and everything. So that's what's going on with that. Have a thank you this week. I wanted to thank Marlisha, who is Lady Fernico on Ravelry. She was very sweet and sent me a birthday gift. She sent me a downloadable pattern from Ravelry. I'm going to show you a picture here of what it is. And it is the Catkin shawl. There. So that is the Catkin shawl by Karina Spencer. And I have some purple and green yarn that I want to use, and I think I will use the purple as the main color and the green as the accent. That's what I'm thinking. So thank you so much, Marlisha. That was so sweet of you to think of me. And thanks to everybody else for the birthday wishes on Plurk and other places online. I really appreciate it. It's so nice to be remembered on your birthday. And once again, I'm going to have to ask you to bear with me about my lighting. No matter what I do in this room or even in the other room, the light just seems to be too much. I may have to try and record at a different time of day, which will mean there'll be more background noise, but I know I am very glowy today. I've got a lot of light hitting my face, and heaven knows that I am a very pale person. I, I'm not very tan, so I hope it's not too annoying or distracting to see me so very, very white. So it is a big week this week, and I know it's been about 4 weeks since I last recorded, and I apologize for that. Actually, I recorded an entire episode a week ago, and my computer ate it. That's kind of the modern version of my dog ate it, right? But I don't know what the problem was. I must have had too much running on my computer while I was recording, but the audio and the video wouldn't sync up, and there were glitches, and it was jumpy and weird. So it just wasn't of the quality that I felt comfortable posting for y'all. So I will show you everything I showed you in that episode, and probably, yeah, definitely some more as well. But as I was saying, this is a very big week in the lives of hockey fans everywhere. This is opening week for the NHL, so hockey talk might be a little bit longer today, and I definitely have quite a few projects to show you. And a bunch of stuff has happened since the last time I recorded, so it might be a little bit of a longer show today. So why don't we just go ahead and get right on into the first period, and I'll show you what's in the zone and what's going on with my fiber arts projects. First period in the zone. I'm going to tell you all about my current fiber arts projects. In developing play is where most of my fiber arts projects are standing at the moment. We'll start with the Knit Sampler Afghan by Coates and Clark. This has been my 2013 project, and I've knit a few squares each month in hopes that I will have a blanket finished a double-sized blanket finished by the end of the year to give as a gift. And this is what the Knit Sampler Afghan regular size looks like when it's finished. My colors are very different. This is a free pattern offered by Coats and Clark, the makers of Red Heart yarn. I am using Red Heart Soft, and I finished three more squares and started another, and I've fallen a little bit behind on my schedule, and I'll talk more about why later. I've had to cast on, not had to, but I have cast on another project that needs to be done somewhat quickly. So here is one of the squares that I finished. This is in the navy colorway. And here is another one in the dark leaf colorway. And the final one, since the last time you saw me, is this one, also in the dark leaf colorway. I started on the next square, and you can't see much yet. I haven't gotten much done. This is in dark leaf and berry, and it's like a mosaic pattern. If you've been watching a while, you saw the first one I finished, because I'm in the second set of squares. Like I said, I'm making a double-sized blanket. I'm using a size 8 US, which is 5mm needle, and I'm hoping to have these finished, the knitting of the squares finished by the end of October. We'll see, so that I have time to figure out how to put them together, because I have never made a blanket with different squares that you have to put together in the end. So hopefully I'll be able to figure that out pretty easily. I think I'm leaning toward crocheting them together, so we will see how that goes. Next in the zone, or in developing play rather, is my Freja mittens. Pardon me. Okay, here they are. Here it is. I am such a huge fail. These are for the current craft along on the Holding the Sticks groups on Ravelry. I've almost got the first mitten done. I may not have done anything on these since the last time you saw me. However, you can pretty much see how these are going to look when they're finished now, because this is almost done. I'm not going to show a finished picture as well. I am using, this is Freja by Emmy Peterson. I'm using Knit Picks palette yarn in US size 1, 2.25mm needles. This is the back of the mitten. And get you a little close-up detail there. And my favorite part of the mitten is actually the front of the mitten, and it has all of these little hearts. I just adore it. And then I'm working on the thumb now, obviously, which has a very pretty scrolly heart pattern on the front and more of a regular heart pattern on the back. So that is Freja. Really need to finish these. It's starting to get a little chilly and making me think that winter is actually going to come this year. Exciting. So those are my mittens. I have done some on my Granville sweater. This is supposed to be my Rhinebeck sweater. However, I have put it aside in favor of this other project that I have cast on recently. But I'll show you what I've done on the back. You all know I finished the front left and the front right, and I've showed those before. I'm currently getting very close to the end of the back, so here it is. Of course it's all curling up, but the most exciting part of it is that cable, and you can see it just fine. Really, really, really enjoying this project. I'm using my hand spun yarn. This is a true 3-ply spun from Knit Picks Wool of the Andes roving in the Merlot colorway. And I'm knitting it with a size, can't remember, 6 4mm needle. And it's not very likely I'm going to get this finished for Rhinebeck, but you never know, because this other project that I'm working on is getting close to being finished now. So one can always hope, right? The last project that you've seen before that I'm still working on are the Simple Skip Socks by Adrienne Koo. Let me find them. I have all of my stuff over here. This is my travel project, so you probably hear me unzipping my purse. I have finished the first sock, so I'm excited about that. I should have put it on a blocker for you, but you can get the general idea here. My Simple Skip socks are made with my Hippie Penguin Holding the Sticks colorway variegated podcaster sock yarn. So this has been a really, really fun project, knowing that Hillary dyed this up just for holding the sticks. I thought that was really, really awesome. Loving the yarn. It's so soft and cushy. It's a little, I think it might be like a heavy fingering, so it's going to be perfect for ice skating in, and I believe I did get them long enough. I haven't tried on this sock with my skate yet, but it looks like it's going to be long enough to go ice skating in, which makes me very, very happy. I did not do the pattern exactly as written. I did my own short row, not my own, but I did a short row heel, and I don't even know what heel it calls for in the pattern because I didn't even bother to read that part. And I did a 3x1, 3 knits, 1 purl ribbing at the top because that's what I like. And there we go. See if I can get a better picture of the colorway here. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. It is a red, purple, no, yes, red, purple, green, and white colorway. That's pretty good. That's pretty accurate, more or less. So that is the finished sock I've started. I just have the toe started on the next sock. I'll show you it really quick. So like I said, that's my travel knitting. Goes with me to work, stays in my purse. Because it's not as easy as a vanilla sock, obviously, but it is a very easy to memorize pattern. So it's good for me to do when things are slow at work or whatever. Which hasn't happened much lately, let me tell you. Okay, and now for the last project that I've got 2 more projects that I'm currently working on. Apparently I got a little excited and cast on some things. The first one, the one that I keep referring to, in the fact that I haven't worked on some of my sweater and blanket, I have cast on a new chemo cap for somebody who needs it. Recent diagnosis of inflammatory breast cancer. She's already had her first chemo treatment, so I am knitting and knitting and knitting as fast as I can, and if I had really been thinking straight, I would have done a worsted or heavier weight hat, but this will be really good for her to wear indoors. She lives in Missouri, so it's going to be very cold this winter, and she'll want a lighter hat for indoors, and I'll knit a couple more heavier hats for the outdoors. This is some Miss Babs yarn that I have had in my stash for probably 5 or 6 years. I purchased it at a local yarn shop that is no longer in existence, so here it is. Not showing up very well, I'll put a picture in as well. This is the Miss Babs Yummy sock yarn. It actually says Yummy Sock or Baby yarn. So this is a merino nylon blend. Super, super squishy, soft, wonderful. Not a bit of itch to it. And it's in the tapestry colorway. I can't remember what size needle I'm using. But this is the Mont Royal hat by T-Shep is the name on the pattern. So I got it on Ravelry. It's a free pattern. And I love how this is knitting up. The colors are showing up a little bit closer now in this shot. But it just has alternating panels of garter and this wonderful cable slip stitch pattern. And there's the other side. It is a slightly slouchy hat, and the person this hat is for is a very stylish woman, so I'm hoping she will like it. I'm also hoping that it's not too big. However, this yarn tends to shrink a little bit. The care instructions are hand wash, or not hand wash, wash delicate, dry low. Um, and usually when I've made socks with this, they've shrunk a bit when I've washed and dried them, so I think a trip through the dryer will just set this right up. It doesn't felt, it just shrinks a little bit. So I'm super excited about this, and having hoarded this yarn for so long, um, it's always really nice to find the perfect pattern for a yarn that you've hoarded for so long. So there is that. And the final project that I am working on, and I cast on especially for the upcoming NHL hockey season, or AHL, either one, I have decided to work on one big project while I watch hockey this season. And the best project to knit while you're watching hockey is one that you don't have to look at and you don't have to think about. So what am I doing? I'm doing, and call me crazy, I'm doing a queen size garter stitch blanket. I gathered up all of my scrap acrylics and acrylic blends and some cottons, basically, if it's machine washable. I'm not doing any superwash wools. Just I'm afraid that a lot of those will felt when you dry them. So just the acrylics I'm using and the cottons. And what I did is I got a gauge swatch to see, with some worsted weight yarn and a size 8 needle. Did a little gauge swatch and figured out I would need to cast on 300 stitches for a queen size blanket. And what I do is I knit with one color until the end of a period of hockey, and then I use a magic knot to tie on the next color to knit through the next period of hockey. So whenever the buzzer sounds for the end of the period, I switch colors and knit right along. I will knit, I'll even switch colors for overtime, which is always a little short, tiny little stretch for overtime, but that kind of mixes it up a little bit and makes it a little crazier. So are you ready to see this monstrosity? I am blindly grabbing these colors when I get the new colors, by the way. This is all from preseason. I knit maybe, I don't know, between 2 and 4 inches before any hockey started, just to get, you don't want to be casting on 300 stitches when you're trying to pay attention to a hockey game. So I cast on the 300 stitches, and then I'm like, I can't just leave it that way. I have to knit a little bit. So yeah, I knit a couple inches on it. So far, see if I can straighten out a little bit of this. I've got it on a shorter needle just to make it easier on me. This is what we have so far. I think I've got about a foot and a half maybe done so far. And I have a long way to go still. Queen size blanket is 90 inches by 90 inches, so I have quite a lot of knitting to do. Surprisingly, the color changes of this keeps it super interesting, and I'm really enjoying knitting this blanket. And this will be for our bed. We are saving up to get a queen size mattress. It is high time. We got a new mattress in general, and we've been sleeping on a full-sized mattress all these years. So we're saving up to do that, and so I'm knitting a blanket to go on that when we get it. That's the only problem with upgrading to a new mattress size, is that you need all new bedding. So that is the final developing play this week. Really quick spinorama this week. I'm just working on a little project inspired by the Fat Squirrel Speaks, unsquirreling it away, knit along, spin along, craft along that she's having in her group. The Fat Squirrel is another podcast, if you're not familiar with her. She is a hoot to watch. She's really funny, never fails to make me laugh, and I'm a big fan. So she is hosting this craft along, and what it is you're supposed to get yarn that you've been hoarding or squirreling away for, as long as long as you want, really. She's not being very strict about it. But the idea is to take those special skeins of yarn or fiber that you've been saving for a rainy day to spin up or knit up and get it out of your stash. That hat that I'm knitting will also qualify for the knitting part of this, but I have some Angora fiber that has been in my stash since the second SAF I ever went to, maybe even the first one, several years. We'll just leave it at that. I purchased this Angora fluff, bunny fluff, back when I was just learning how to drop spindle, and I was not even considering a spinning wheel at that point. And I purchased it thinking, oh, I will practice for a few months, and then maybe I'll be brave enough to do this Angora. A few months turned into a few years. And so I still wasn't brave enough to try this on my spinning wheel at first. So I have this spindle with some Angora singles on it. There we go. It's this beautiful gray. I think the color on it says French gray. That might be the breed of bunny too. I don't know. It's gorgeous and so soft. I have 2 ounces. I got this far on the drop spindle and decided that it will take me 50 years to drop spindle 2 ounces of Angora. And I actually did get brave enough and put some on the spinning wheel. Surprisingly, it's easier than I thought it would be to spin. However, I just hope I'm doing it justice. I think most spinners can understand that, when you're spinning a fiber you're not used to, and it's really pretty, or it's special fiber and you're not sure how to spin it right. I am having to put a lot of twist into this fiber to make it stick. I'll show you the package that it came in. It's kind of cute how they packaged this. They put it in a to-go box. And I have spun at more than half of this first ounce, and the box still looks full. That's how fluffy this stuff is. But this is the information from the fiber. It's wonderful, and like I said, I just hope I'm doing it justice and that I'm not over twisting it. I know when I ply it back the other direction, that should help it fluff out a little bit. It's still very soft to the touch, but you just worry when you're doing something you're not used to doing. So that's it for Spinorama. You know what that means. It is time for the Warm Hands Hoedown, y'all. So by the time you see this, the Warm Hands Hoedown will be a thing of the past, I'm afraid. If you are right on top of your game and you see this right when I put it up, I'm hoping I'll get it up this evening. But today is the last day of September, the last day you can put your finished object photo in for the Warm Hands Hoedown. Warm Hands Hoedown is the current craft along that I'm hosting on the Holding the Sticks group on Ravelry. You have, or you had 2 months or 3 months to work on any kind of project for the hands, mittens, gloves, fingerless mittens. The prize that I will draw on my next podcast, actually I'll draw it beforehand, but I will announce on the next podcast who wins the prize, which is a $25 gift certificate to Etsy. And you will have a month to claim that if I call your name. If you don't claim it, after a month I will draw a different name. So you might want to keep an eye out for that episode. And of course, I'll post in all the regular places when I post new episodes. So, right, there's really no point in going over all the rules or anything because it's pretty well over now. I will, on the next episode, also tell you what the next knit along will be, so, or craft along. I haven't decided what it will be yet, but I hope to come up with something fun. Other than that, I think that's it for our second or first period, whichever period this is. That is it for In the Zone. Let's get into the off ice period, period number 2. Welcome to the off ice period, period number 2, and we'll start with the training room for fitness and health, and then we'll get into some chatter. So as far as fitness and health go, I hope y'all have been enjoying your workout routines or taking steps to get there, or at least just getting it done. Sometimes when it comes to working out or getting fit, all we can do is get it done. I personally have actually had a very good few weeks as far as fitness goes. I'm very happy with it. On September the 8th, I got to run in the 5K race that I signed up for a while ago. It was the Blue 5K hosted by the Carolina Hurricanes. So Fox and I went down and stayed with Mom for a night, and it was so nice to see Mom. And she's doing great, by the way. Fox actually decided to run this race with me, having only run a couple of times with me leading up to this. So, I've been training for this race for, well, I've been training for this specific race for about a year. I ran my first 5K about a year ago, and then this was my second one. So, yeah, I've been training for a long, long time for this race, and then my husband comes in without training at all and has no trouble running this race with me. Anyway, the result was that I ran the whole way, which was my main goal. My second goal was to run it in under 45 minutes, and that was a fail, but not by much. I ran it in 45 minutes and 13 seconds. That is an official time. They had us microchipped. I've never been microchipped for a race before. That sounds like what you do to your dog. They didn't implant anything on me. They put it on your racing number. The bib had the chip on it. So when you cross under the start line, it automatically starts timing you, and then when you cross under the finish line, it automatically stops the time. So that 45:13 was very accurate. It was a fun time. It started in 9 a.m. in the morning, which is kind of early for me. That's what time I start work. So to get up for that early on a weekend was a little bit of a, or not ordeal, but wasn't easy. Nor was it easy for the Carolina Hurricanes, who had all arrived in Raleigh for training camp by that point. So almost the entire team showed up for the opening ceremony for the race. That was really cool. I got to see Zach Dalpe and Cam Ward and all of them. I got to see Tuomo Ruutu, and all of our guys were there on the stage. It was so cool. I don't think many of them stuck around for the actual race, but the fact that they just even showed up was kind of neat. The highlight of the race, I think, would be that when I crossed the finish line, John Forsland, who is the play-by-play guy for the Hurricanes, announced my bib number. I guess that's one of the benefits for being kind of slower, is that he was able to do that. We were all trickling in at that point. But I put on a burst of speed at the end, and I did wind up at least running a little faster than Fox, but he is so funny. I'm running this race, right? And y'all know I've got an inhaler now, so my breathing is somewhat easier. But basically, I'm running this race, and I'm just trying to breathe. Just trying to be able to breathe. Meanwhile, my husband is running next to me. He's just jogging along and just chattering the whole time. Blah 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 blah. Like, I mean, it's hardly stops to take a breath, and he's just oh, it cracks me up. But anyway, we're all built differently. If any of you have seen pictures or have met Fox, then you know he's a smaller build and a very athletic guy. So it's really not that surprising. But Yeah, it's just funny to me that I have to work so hard to be able to even finish the race, and he's just la 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 la, la, you know. We got some really awesome shirts, and mine needs repair already. I washed it for the first time, and the stitching around the sleeve let go a little bit, so I need to stitch that back up. That's a bummer. But this is the shirt we got. Run, run, run with the Hurricanes logo. And in the back just has all the sponsors and all of that. So yeah, I have a little collection of running shirts now. I've got 2 race shirts and a Boone Running Club shirt in my collection now. That's pretty cool. Eventually, I might have to make one of those t-shirt quilts that I've seen around. So that was a definite success, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I know some of you were very concerned because I had tweeted and posted on social media that they were having pancakes after the race, and I had found out that the pancakes would be served starting at 30 minutes after the start time, and I knew I wouldn't run that fast, and I thought all the pancakes would be gone by the time I finished the race, and I did get to have some pancakes. They kept the pancakes restocked for about an hour, hour and a half after the race, so that was fine. Just for some perspective, as I said, I finished in 45:13. This is 3.1 miles, by the way. It's a 5K. I finished in 45:13. The lady who won in my age group finished in about 25 minutes. The fella who won outright won the whole race. I don't know what age group he was in. He ran 3.1 miles in about 15 minutes and 30 seconds. So, um, kudos to both of them. They are way above where I am, although I have started now to really work on running faster. So, as far as my training goes, I've been getting out there and running more often, more regularly, and I've been basically starting the Couch to 5K program over again. Couch to 5K is a program that starts you out with a walk and jog. So when you first start, it basically brings you from the couch to running a 5K. When you first start, you run a minute, and then you walk for a minute and 30, and then you run for a minute, and then you walk for a minute and 30. Um, so I'm basically doing that all over again, except I am um, running at a good pace for a minute and then jogging for a minute 30. And it's hard. Like, I had forgotten how hard it was. Even when I first started it with the walk and jog, I had forgotten how hard it was to make it through that minute. And now that I'm, bumping it up to a run, and I'm not sprinting or anything, I'm just, a slow, steady run. Um, it's pretty hard. I have not managed to make it through week 1 yet with the minute run, minute 30 jog. I've had to stop and walk at least once every time I've tried it. So I almost made it the last time without walking at all. I think the next time I do it, I'll be able to do the whole thing without walking. And I want to be able to do it twice without walking, and then I will progress on to the next week. So that's my plan anyway. With the weather turning cooler, I'm starting to think about winter training. Thought about getting a treadmill. I do still have the stationary bike, which I have made use of even during the summer. But I live in a tiny house, and treadmills are big and clunky and kind of loud most of the time. So fortunately, where I work, we have a special deal with a local gym. I can join a gym for 20 bucks a month, and that I think is what I'm going to do once the weather turns. So I'm thinking probably November I'll start hitting the treadmills at the gym when the weather's bad. Probably have to do that through March or April, and then I'll be able to run outside all the time again. So that's my plan anyway. Y'all let me know what your fitness plans are for the winter. I would love to hear your ideas about how to stay active when the weather turns ugly. And just get some ideas from y'all too. You can post that in this week's show thread if you would like to. And we'll get into a little bit of chatter. I know I am going on and on today, and I'm afraid this is going to be a long episode, but hopefully y'all will put up with it. As far as chatter goes, I've had a really good week or really good several weeks at work. It got really busy, and then occasionally we get a completely quiet, dead day. And the other day we had one of those. Well, the morning was very quiet, and I had nobody the first 2 or 3 hours I was there. So we just started carrying a new makeup line at work. Um, and I work at basically a day spa. So it's a fun place to work. But we started carrying this new line of makeup. It's called Glow Minerals. And ever since we got this makeup in, the people who did the training to learn how to apply it have been trying to get me to sit down and have a makeover. As you all know who watch me on a regular basis, I do not wear a lot of makeup. Basically, I'll put on some foundation just to even out my complexion or whatever and call it good. And so these girls, they're all, one of them is younger and the other one is my age, but they just wanted to see what I would look like with makeup. So they sat me down and started working on me, and it took them, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. They applied, I counted, and they applied 14 products to my face. And here's what I looked like when they were finished with me. And I was pretty happy with it. I made it pretty clear that I didn't want a very dramatic look, that I really wanted something more for daytime, and I thought they did a really good job of doing that. They used a lot of products that I probably won't ever use. This was several weeks ago they did this, and I've been slowly buying the products that I will use. I got the powder foundation and the primer that go underneath it, because I have big pores. This is a mineral makeup, so if you have large pores, the mineral makeups, if you just put them straight on, kind of accentuate how big your pores are. So these primers kind of minimize your pores. So primer and the foundation and a blush is where I started. And I got a very natural looking blush, which is good because I always feel like when I put evening makeup on or heavier makeup on, I feel like I look like a clown. So this is really good. They found really nice daytime natural looking colors for me. And those were the first 3 products I purchased. And then the next week I bought eyeliner and under eye concealer. I think and a mascara. So that's all I'm wearing right now of the 14 products that they put on my face. Next week I hope to purchase stuff for the lips. So sorry to get all girly girl on you there for a bit, but it's fun. And I feel that because we're selling these products at work, that it's good for me to kind of represent and put a good face forward for the company. This is not required of me by any means, but I feel that if they're good products and products that I can use, which is an issue as sensitive as my skin is, that I should absolutely be promoting those products. So, and we get a very nice employee discount to help us be able to do that. So I've been having fun with it. I think I'm gonna wrap up the chatter right there just to keep things somewhat shorter. But I still have some hockey talk, so let's get into the third period. Time to drop the puck for the third period and a little bit of hockey talk. There won't be a normal Hockey 101 segment today, or I guess there will be. I'm going to talk about a few of the new rules that are being instituted for the 2013-14 NHL season. But other than that, I'm just going to chatter a little bit about what's going on with the Hurricanes and the Checkers and other teams I've been kind of watching throughout the preseason. So we'll start with a little Hockey 101 and the new rules that will be in the NHL this season. I'm not going to go into all of them. Some of them are very technical, and casual fan won't really notice any difference. But I would say the biggest new rule for the 2013-14 season is not actually finalized yet. The NHLPA, the National Hockey League Player Association, is voting on this today, so we'll know by the end of the day whether or not they have accepted this new rule. They have decided to try hybrid icing, and I talked about this in an earlier episode. As the rule stood, when you ice the puck, that's when you send the puck all the way down the ice over the goal line without anybody to pass to or anything like that. You're not supposed to do that, and that would bring the puck back into the defending zone of the offending team. So, like I said, I talked about all of this in an earlier episode, and I even talked a little bit about hybrid icing. In the past, in the regular icing rule, the players would race for the puck, and whichever player touched the puck first would either, if it was the offending team, it would negate the icing, but if it was the defending team, then the icing would stand, and the puck would go back into the defensive zone of the offending team. Hybrid icing brings the race back. This is simplifying the rule quite a bit. There are 2 face-off dots in front of the goal line, and it brings the race for the puck back to that line. It makes it safer. Last season, if you'll recall, one of my Hurricanes players, mine, like he's my player, but you know what I mean, it's my team, Joni Pitkanen, was racing for a puck on an icing call and slipped and fell right before the end boards and crashed feet first into the end boards at a very high speed and broke his calcaneus bone. That's your heel bone, and he is out for the season for sure, and there is a possibility that his career is over because of that. There was also a young player a couple of seasons ago who broke his femur racing for a puck. So this is why the icing rule is, they're trying to figure out a safer way to make this icing call. So hybrid icing has been tested out throughout the preseason, and for the most part, I think it's working pretty well. However, it does have its problems. It's a lot more of a judgment call to judge whether or not one player or the other will make it to that line in time or not, or whichever one will make it to the line first, rather. There's a lot more of a gray area, and so it puts a lot more pressure and stress onto the linesmen and the referees. So that's the biggest negative, I think, to the icing rule. I don't think anybody minds or thinks that it has slowed the game down at all, but there is a question as to whether or not this new rule is going to pass. I am hoping that they will pass the hybrid icing rule for this season because of the safety issue. I think most of us will agree, most of us that watch sports will agree that we watch sports for entertainment. And it is never entertaining to see a player be injured so severely, or be injured at all, really, but to see somebody's career come to an end is never fun or entertaining to watch. So I have high hopes, but it is going to be a very, very close vote from what I understand. A lot of the television and radio commentators don't like it because it's harder to tell what's going on or why a call was made. But to me, the player safety trumps all of that. And possibly next season they'll try even a different icing rule, like automatic icing, which doesn't involve a race for the puck at all. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's probably the biggest rule change. Another new rule that they are instituting for this season, and I almost forgot this one, is that when the guys get into a hockey fight, they are no longer allowed to remove their helmets. Or if, of course, they're not allowed to fight in the first place. But if they remove their helmets, if you take your helmet off, then they'll give you an extra 2-minute penalty after the fight. So I think it's kind of funny that the guys have already found a loophole around this one. I've seen a couple of times in preseason where two guys will go and get ready to fight, and I've talked about hockey fights before in a previous episode. I'm sure I will again. But when the two guys get ready to fight, they will now reach across and take each other's helmets off to get around the new rule. So I thought that was pretty funny. There have been several uniform changes in the NHL rule book. So, um, funnily enough, this has caused the most controversy of any of the rule changes. And the first one is that the goalie pads have to be smaller. And some of the goalies were already in compliance with this, but some goalies had been kind of creeping up toward larger and larger pads. And the way goalie pads are measured in order to be compliant with the rules, it's based on a percentage system. So your pad can only be a certain percentage of the height of your legs and that sort of thing. So that's kind of a newer rule, and most of the goalies that I have heard speak on the issue say that they kind of like it. They like the smaller pads. It helps them be more mobile and be quicker. So what should have they made this rule change to make the game to make it easier to score, and that might actually backfire on the league because the goalies feel like they can move better now. The other big uniform change is that players are no longer allowed to tuck the back of their jersey into their pants. Um, this is a thing that I have seen for a while. Alexander Ovechkin is a big one that likes to tuck his jersey. Wayne Gretzky used to tuck his jersey. Rod Brind'Amour used to tuck his jersey. And I always thought it looked really kind of silly and sloppy, and I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the guys who walk around with their pants down too low. However, they've made a rule to outlaw that, and you will get called for a minor penalty now if you do it. And I think that's just kind of silly because it slows the game down for an infraction that has nothing to do. I mean, it's not a safety issue, and it's just, I mean, I guess they want the guys to look neat and tidy out there, which I like that too, but I just don't think it's really worth the penalties that are being called for it. The only one, as far as I know, that's been called, and I'm not bitter. In a preseason game, Alex Semin of the Hurricanes was called for a minor penalty for the jersey tuck. And he was the first one to be called for it, and as far as I know, the only one so far, although other people in other games have definitely had the jersey tuck going on and weren't called for it. So who knows? That's a strange one. There are several other uniform rules. Apparently players were altering their hockey pants, and so it was exposing like their skin on their legs, and that's been outlawed. And everything, all of your pads have to be covered up. The sleeves have to be a certain length, a bunch of stuff like that, kind of technical things. There are a few other very technical rules that I won't go into because most people won't really even notice them unless the commentators say something about it. So that's kind of an overview. I hope I haven't missed any of the major rule changes, but that's kind of an overview of the new rules for the 2013-2014 season. As far as general hockey talk goes, I have been watching a lot of preseason hockey because of the hockey blanket that I'm knitting. I really want to be knitting on the blanket, and I only let myself knit on the blanket when I'm watching hockey. So anytime there's been a game on, well, maybe not every time there's been a game on, but I've watched a preseason game every day since preseason started a couple of weeks ago. And so I've got to see several games on internet streams. I saw the Hurricanes play once when they played against the Montreal Canadiens. It was in French though, because it was a French Montreal feed. So what I did was I turned on the radio feed from the Hurricanes and the video feed from the Canadiens, and they were not synced up, but I kind of made it work that way. It was fun to watch. Hurricanes lost their first 3 preseason games, and all of us Caniacs got a little bit worried. Of course, preseason is there to give coaching staff an opportunity to see their young players in a game situation. So those first 3 games, Coach Muller was trying out a lot of our young players, and obviously several, or dare I say, most of our young players were not stepping up. Starting with game 4 of the preseason, there were 6 total. He was putting in more of a lineup that was closer to what it will be on opening night of the regular season. And we won the last 3 games, so that was encouraging to say the least. If any of you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, I think I mentioned it on Instagram as well, and the few of my family members that watch and follow me on Facebook, you know that my little hockey world was crushed yesterday morning. Saturday night, well, Saturday into Sunday, about midnight, after I had gone to sleep, the Hurricanes, I'm going to say it out loud, it's so sad. The Hurricanes traded Zach Dalpe and Jeremy Welsh to the Vancouver Canucks. Any of you who've been watching this for any amount of time or know me online on the Puck This group on Ravelry or any of that know that I'm a huge Zach Dalpe fan. The first time I saw Zach was at my very first Checkers hockey game. We sat in the front row, and I just remember seeing this streak go skating by. He was so fast and had an incredible shot. And I just have been following him closely ever since, and hoping that he would make the Hurricanes roster. Unfortunately, it appears that Zach will not make the Hurricanes roster, as he's been traded into the Vancouver system. There are high hopes that he is going to make the roster in Vancouver, and if that's the case, I am thrilled for Zach. But I'm super, super sad because he is so much fun to watch. And when you follow a player from, he played at Ohio State before he came to the Checkers, and I did not follow him at Ohio State, but from the time he came into professional hockey in the minor league until now, so, 3+ years I've been watching this kid trying to make the major league. And yeah, I woke up Sunday morning and looked at my little phone and checked the Twitter, and screamed in despair. I did. I'm not ashamed to admit it, but my husband came in and said, "What's wrong?" Actually, it took him a while to come in and say, "What's wrong?" He thought that my scream of despair was a yawn, which tells you how with it I am first thing in the morning. But anyway, of course, he now knows what's wrong. And if he sticks on the Vancouver roster, not my husband, but Zach Dalpe, if he sticks on the roster, then I might have to buy some Vancouver Canucks gear. Yeah, I might have to. Because sometimes you have a favorite player and it doesn't matter which team they play on, you just want to support them, and that's how I feel about him. So I will probably be losing some sleep to watch some Canucks games this season. If I really hope he makes it. It just sounds like a given from what I've read in the media. It sounds like a given that he's going to make the roster in Vancouver. But anyway, we'll get off of that subject. It makes me sad. We traded him and Jeremy Welsh for a prospect and a draft pick in the next draft, and seems like we could have gotten an awful lot more, but I'm not a hockey general manager, nor am I a coach, so what can you do, right? I always try and look at the hockey season as a novel. It's like you open the book, and page 1 is the preseason, right? And you never know what's going to happen throughout the season. You don't know if your team is going to win, if your team is going to lose, and all of the little dramas and things that go on behind the scenes. And to me, it just feels like reading a very long book. And sometimes it's an incredibly exciting book, and sometimes it's kind of ho-hum, but that's how I kind of look at it, and I just go along for the ride. I'm just having a good old time watching all this preseason hockey. Today is Monday, and regular season starts Wednesday. The Hurricanes don't have their first regular season game until Friday night, however, so I'm looking forward to that a lot. That's about it for the hockey talk. I could ramble on and on, as you all know, about all kinds of different things, but I will keep y'all updated on how the vote goes on hybrid icing today. Other than that, I guess that's it for this week. So until next time, may all of your fiber arts projects and your favorite hockey teams stay out of the penalty box. Bye-bye.